started a war they can't win. They started a war with the common man. They started this war on the bodies of kids. Let's see what happens when they come to get them. Just come take our guns if you think you can. Come and get them if you dare. When they come to get my guns, I make my final stand. Come and try and take our guns. The media won't talk about all the pills they hand out today. They won't talk about how morals are lost and how God's been turned away. They won't talk about an armed man stopping and killing at the mall.
Second Amendment. And if you would like to
Won't blame the killer, but the weapon that he
and
brought.
let your voice be heard.
Come
Thank
take
you.
our guns if you think you can. Come and take them there. If they come to get my guns, I'll make my final stand.
That's the best to get involved. If you don't have time to get involved yourself,
About you, Guy, I'm tired of people trying to step on your rights. And that's why I ran for assembly. Well, one of the many reasons I ran for assembly. But I'm sick of it. I'm tired of people standing back and doing nothing. And it's great to see this many people out here who want to do something. A few weeks ago, the Vice President of the United States, you like him too. He was interviewed on, This bill also says that if anyone in Nevada happens to be arrested under that executive order, the Attorney General of Nevada is hereby directed by the legislature to defend that person to the fullest extent of the resources of Nevada. You're going to hear today from other legislators who have put other bills through. Believe it or not, we actually talk. And you'll see bills about campus carry. You'll see bills about our rights. Senator Settlemyer is here today. He just started the process on the joint resolution that protects the 10th Amendment to the United States. That will go hand in hand with my bill as Nevada stands up to the President of the United States and says, you ain't going to do it here. But we're going to need your help. You see, our legislature is controlled drastically and vastly by the southern part of our state. We have a lot of the other party in there, folks. They're the majority. And they control the committees that these bills will have to go through. What we're going to need from people like you is your support. We need more than your support. We need you to actually do something. And the folks that came out here today in this freezing weather, you're obviously willing to do something. So what we need is we need you to sign up with Western PAC. We need you to actually email us
on the premise to make sure that your guns are safe. So what we see here is that somebody said, well, you're shredding the Second Amendment. As long as you've got the shredder on, let's toss the Fourth Amendment in it as well. And that is the slippery slope that we are fighting against. Because the second we let them get a foothold, they're not going to stop. I'd like to introduce now State Senator James Settlemyer.
Mr. Wagner. John Wagner.
Well, it's a Nevada flag, so that's a good
Dave Williams?
So in that respect. Battleborn, exactly so. We'll stay that way. And one of the things that's so cool today, most politicians actually have their hands in their own pocket. So that's a good thing as well. It's great to be here today and see so many people, though, that actually support the Constitution. You know, it's just great to look out, and one thing's for sure with all the guns I see out there, this is definitely the safest place in northern Nevada. With that, though, since Congressman Amodei is not here right now, I'll go ahead and steal some of his speech, which is good. Thanks to tell him that later. It's actually something good to borrow from Amodei. It's always interesting to him, back in Washington, D.C., how he's surrounded with so many people that care so much about the Bill of Rights and the amendments, except for the 2nd and the 10th. Why is that? And that's something we have to look at and make sure it doesn't exist. All the amendments are important. I had the bill on state sovereignty. We had a hearing. There's some great people out here in the audience today that came and testified on that bill. Thank you very much for that help. And what's interesting, though, there was not one person who testified against the 10th Amendment. Now, whether or not we'll be able to force it out, that's another question. But a good thing happened the other day, which I had to laugh at. I got up on the floor, and Senator Gustafson was there with me. And we got up and said, we actually believe in the concept of the online gaming bill, because why not? Because within the bill it actually says we're going to nullify federal law. So I got up on the floor and said, I really appreciate the concept of this bill that goes forward and actually nullifies the federal law and the true spirit and intent of the Founding Fathers of the 10th Amendment and state sovereignty. So I got a pretty good laugh from some of my colleagues from the other side of the aisle, to say the least, but it was more interesting. They were hearing some more bills further on in the day. They have some subjects that they're interested in, such as medical marijuana. They're going, maybe we should sign on to that bill with Settlemyer and just, nullify the federal law. So it's always kind of funny. So we're actually bringing them around to our way of thinking. And some of the people, though, that are confused about the Second Amendment. And so I sent them, how many people here, which is going to probably be everybody, politicians do the wrong thing. So in that respect, that's right, we work for you. And if you don't like it, you can remove us from office. So we need to get some people to move to certain other parts of the state that may not be thinking correctly. And help us take back this country that way, because that's the way it needs to be done. We all have legislation going forward. I have my bill on the 10th Amendment. I have a couple of bills on the 2nd Amendment. And in that respect, please send us emails. I need your contact information. Send me an email. I have a file where I put everybody that sends an email to me on gun rights. I put it over here, and when I hear about crazy bills that are good or bad, I go ahead and send out email alerts to people saying, here's what's coming. I have a bill coming up on Wednesday dealing with concealed carry weapons permit. Try and change it to one gun, all guns. So simply put, you can just go in, qualify with one gun, and then you're done. I've signed on to Senator Gustafson's bill, a very wise bill, constitutional carry. He's talking about concealed carry on university campuses. I voted yes on that bill last year. Unfortunately, it didn't make it any further. Now, I appreciate Assemblywoman Fiore coming forward with the bill again, and Mr. Collins, Amanda Collins, both will be coming up and testifying on that bill. They're very... And John?
Now, the liberals will tell you that the militia is the National Guard.
No, it's the National Guard.
The National Guard is the militia? I don't think so. The closest thing we've had to a militia, not counting the Athens case, is the sheriff's posse. Right? Jesse James just came into town, robbed the bank. Let's form up a posse. Well, that's your militia. They went out. They're citizens, citizen people, citizens with.
I have the AFP shirts.
Transformation of power. I've written a book. I've written a book about World War III, about how we win. Now, my name is Everett Triple. You can go on the internet. You Google my name. You can go on YouTube, and you can listen to me speaking about the problems this country is facing. There is a
final war to be fought against these enemies. Patton said it in Germany, and he was facing off with the Russian generals. He said, if we don't drive them back into their own country, this problem is not going to go away. If we don't deal with it now, we will deal with it later. The later he spoke of is today. We're watching Putin rapidly expanding his military power. I have a 2-year-old article from the front page of the New York Times that talks about how the Pentagon's alarmed at the rapid buildup of the Chinese Navy. It's most alarming of all. It says they have already deployed 2 Shanghai-class nuclear-powered attack submarines equipped with stealth technology, dozen more underway. Our enemies are rising. There's a final conflict. This book talks about Bible prophecy. Who hasn't heard about Armageddon? Revelation 9 mentions an army of 200 million. Bloomberg News says today China has a young male population exceeding 130 million. Every day today, a new world record's being broken of the number of people on the planet. Yesterday, there were less people than there are today. Tomorrow, another new world record will be broken. The world's population has never been so big as it is today. Our enemies are rising. We're outnumbered. We're overpowered. You see, no nation ever faces a time of greater economic challenge than during time of war. This nation accumulated huge debt prevailing against our enemies in past wars. Today, we stand as a nation like a man whose credit card is maxed out to the limit. They talk in Washington, D.C. about raising our debt ceiling. We're borrowed to the max. We're broke. We have no money. Fighting a war is very expensive. Our enemies know that. They recognize the weakness. Now, prophecies talk about a day of great disaster comes suddenly on a population that's busy. It describes, I don't make any of this up, people will be busy buying and selling and building and planting and marrying and giving marriage. And what it says is, boom, sudden destruction's coming. I go, well, what's that? Prophecies call it the day of the Lord. It says the sun will be darkened. I says, well, it's real clear in the 2nd chapter of Joel. It says it's the day of the Lord. A large and mighty army comes, the likes of which has never been from days of old, nor ever will be in ages to come. It says, before them fire burns, behind them the flames blaze. I go, you know what? The Bible's talking about the biggest and the baddest, massive military attack the world has ever seen or will ever see. I go, you know what? Is that not military common sense? If the nations of the world think they're going to attack the United States, referred to as the sole remaining superpower, don't you think they're going to back up, get a run at us, pack their lunch? They're going to slam into this country as hard as they can with everything they got. And when they do, guess what? They're going to be stopped in the mountains by American freedom, homeland freedom fighters. That's us. It even says that. It says that in the book of Joel. After it mentions what the day of the Lord is, the day of darkness and gloom, says, seek the Lord, weeping, fasting, and praying. It says the Lord will relent from sending calamity, that He'll drive that northern army back out across the parched, barren land. I says, you know what? The Lord uses human instruments to fulfill His word, and that's who we are. We have a destiny, because the bottom line is we are the champions of the world. And the song says, it's true. It says, keep on fighting. No time for losers. What? L-E-T-T. Am I done? I can go for 8 hours. Ticket, I don't want any trouble. So.
Everybody, one person's
Dumb things by me. I'd like to introduce Congressman Mark Amodei.
Thanks, Roger. Hey, congratulations to the Western PAC for putting together a great event. I can't believe all you pansies are out there wearing coats today. I mean, what's the deal? Hey, I don't want to, because the temperature's falling, not rising, I'm going to try to be kind of crisp. I want to give you just a little bit of information that I would represent to you as factual, as opposed to a lot of what you're hearing from the national media folks. So here's a little legislative update on the Second Amendment. First of all, it is my opinion that the President didn't sign 23 executive orders because he had the votes in the United States Senate to pass Dianne Feinstein's bill. Think about that. Second of all, I want to give you a little bit of rundown of some of the folks who serve on the House Judiciary Committee, where things that affect amendments to the Constitution pass through. I happen to serve on it. Bob Goodlatte, chairman from Virginia. Ted Poe from Texas. Louis Gohmert from Texas. Jason Chaffetz from Utah. Trey Gowdy from South Carolina. Mr. Reno from Pennsylvania. Mr. Jordan from Ohio. Raul, Las Vegas High graduate. Labrador from Idaho. The reason that I'm telling you those names, oh, by the way, Mark Amodei from someplace east of California. The reason I'm giving you that information is I would encourage you to take a look at the membership of the House Judiciary Committee and ask yourself if you think that there's a threat of somebody forgetting, ignoring, or chipping away at the Second Amendment in that block of votes on the committee. Now, you're not going to hear that on the news stuff. And let me make it perfectly clear. Should we in America talk about things that concern people? Yeah, that's kind of what we do. Last time I checked, that was okay. We'll talk about school safety. We should. We'll talk about mental health. We should. We'll do all of that stuff. This is supposed to be a place where it's okay to talk about things. But why some people have no respect for the Second Amendment when they will fight vociferously for the other 9 in the Bill of Rights? Remember, there's only 10 in the Bill of Rights. I know there's more amendments than that. Why some people have no respect, such little respect for the Second Amendment, is beyond me. But the last time I checked, it was entitled the same amount of respect as all the other ones to the Constitution. So there you go. Two final thoughts, because I see some people kind of starting to take their coats off and get relaxed here in the parking lot. And that is this. And these aren't mine. You may have seen this. A couple of interesting things, though, that I think kind of help keep the perspective. Actually, I'm going to tell you 3. I guess the first one I'll start out with is, some people say, hey, why do you, why do you need 15 rounds in a magazine? And it hit kind of close to home to me, because I own one of the guns I own is a Smith & Wesson M&P 40 cal. And you know, I just went out to Frontier Firearm, Liquor, Pork Rind, and Fallon, and that's what it came with. Okay? They say, why do you need 15 rounds? I says, well, you know, I'm not speaking for anybody else, but some of us are not real good shots, and we need 15 rounds to have a chance. So there's Mark Amodei's answer, but the 2 serious ones are this. The Second Amendment wasn't put in the Constitution so people could hunt. Now, I'm a hunter, but you know what? I don't see anything in the discussion from those folks back there that was put in there so people could hunt. So let's not talk about why do you need that to hunt, although I already said why I need it. But the other one is this. There was a gentleman, and I heard it on a radio program. And somebody says, how come you need that particular type of weapon? And the guy's answer was simply, I want to be armed as well as the person who is trying to do me harm. Have a nice day. Thank you for the rally. Stay strong.
It's not really that cold, and you think about what the people did a couple of 100 years ago, crossing the Potomac, 1776. It was actually Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and so we came out here and we did this for a couple of hours. Somebody would go home with 1,000 rounds of ammunition, but the important thing is, what are we going to do when we leave here? Are you going to do anything? Yes. Because we've been. Some of us have not been doing enough, and I'll give you some examples. First, I got to ask a question. Why is the Department of Homeland Security buying every piece of ammunition available today? For 750 million rounds of .357, 450 million rounds of .40, 200 million rounds of .223, some of them hollow points. You think they're going to use that to secure the border? No. Fast and Furious, maybe? They're going to do an ammunition version of that? I'm a little concerned that we may need some of that ammunition to protect ourselves from some of those people. Now, one thing the government's not going to do today is get their hands on this ammunition. Somebody is, and I'll make it as quick as I possibly can, but I want to talk about some things besides gun rights. First and foremost, what's going on right now is there are some gun manufacturers that are refusing to sell guns to states that pass unconstitutional laws. Look them up online, give them a call. If it's not good for the public, it's not good for any government agency. So Barrett is one of them, Olympic Arms is one as well. Ammunition manufacturers, maybe we could give them a call and say, if you're selling all your product to the government, we'll take our business elsewhere eventually. Yeah. But be sure and thank the ones that are treating you just like they're treating the federal government. Now, if you're concerned with the way this country's going, I want to point out a couple of things I don't like. And there's something in the founding documents. You'll see the phrase throughout just about everything that was being passed around over 200 years ago. And it's called, the government must operate only under the consent of the people. Yay! So the IRS can seize your bank account without a warrant, without a judge's levying any charges against you. Take every penny that you have, if you have any, without a judge. Do you consent? No! All right, and supposedly to keep us safe, the TSA can rifle through your luggage, can cut the locks off, and if they don't find what they think they're looking for, they'll just leave you a nice little postcard without replacing the locks. That luggage is yours, the lock is yours, no compensation for loss. Do you consent to that? No! All right, also in the name of security, TSA agents recently put their hands down a 3-year-old girl's pants and a 6-year-old girl's pants. They made a 85-year-old woman who uses a walker 4 feet 11 inches high do a strip search. Do you consent? No! Could you use 1,000 rounds of ammo? Yeah! Let me make a disclaimer. I'm not advocating violence in any way, shape, or form. Unless you need to use violence to protect you or your family. If you're riding in a plane and 4 Arabs get on with box cutters, you're going to let them take the plane down? No. That's when you use violence. A veteran, Brandon Robb, forcibly removed from his home, arrested, held in a mental institution without the filing of charges or an arrest warrant by a judge. You know what he did? He posted negative comments about the White House. Do you consent to that? What have we been doing? Okay, and the guy that apparently made a film that caused an attack in Benghazi is still in jail. Now, one State Department official has lost their job over that. Now, one Republican could ask, who said no? When this soldier was up, this Navy SEAL was on a rooftop for 7 hours, tagging him with lasers, waiting for some air support. Who said no? You think that anyone could ask that question? No one did. Do you consent? No! Supreme Court, we now have Obamacare. Thank you, John Roberts. A Bush appointment. Can you guys just kind of give me a guarantee that we'll never see another Bush or another Clinton in the White House? Yeah! So you get a fine or a penalty if you don't buy insurance that the government deems that you have to buy. Or you pay a $3,000 fine or something like that. Do you think the 47 million people on food stamps that are walking around on their Obama phones are going to buy insurance that costs about $7,000 or $8,000 a year or pay a fine? Guess who's paying the fine? Guess who exempted themselves from Obamacare? The people that passed it. You consent to that? No! Okay, the governor in New York just recently signed a bill, and here they go co-opting the message or the language. It's called the SAFE Act, taking away guns from people. The bill's passage creates an ex post facto. What that is they pass the bill that basically what was legal is now no longer legal. Article 9, Clause 3 of the Constitution states, "No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed." It's in the Bill of Rights. The Second Amendment Foundation and 20 states are fighting this.
Yay!
Is Nevada? No. Why is Nevada not fighting this? Why is Nevada not joining with 20 other states? Because we have an Attorney General who is a puppet of Harry Reid and the Democrat Party named Catherine Cortez Masto. She comes up for re-election again. I think the governor and the folks down in Carson City need to hear from you in the next week. If you can just take 10 minutes out of your day and start making some phone calls. How about the sheriffs? Do you know if Mike Haley is going to arrest you if they pass an unconstitutional anti-gun? I can tell you there are hundreds of sheriffs across the country that have said they will not enforce any unconstitutional laws and they will arrest federal agents if they try to do so. Anybody called Kenny Furlong in Carson City? Anybody called Ron Perini down in Douglas County? If you haven't, will you?
Yeah.
Let me know what they say. It's Jerry@991fmtalk.com. Remember the last session in Carson City? Well, first of all, look what they did this past Thursday. They passed a bill through committees, through both houses, and the governor signed it in 4 hours. A bill to allow online gambling so that they could generate more tax revenue. Remember last session? They wanted to pass a bill that would require your auto mechanic to make sure that your tires were properly inflated. What are they drinking in Carson City? Could you make contact with them and make sure that they pass some of Jim Settlemyer's bills and get things done the way they should? Now recently our vice president had some great advice. If someone breaks into your house, grab a double-barrel shotgun and 2 shells, go outside and shoot them in the air. I hope he follows his advice if something like that happens. All right, and stop letting this media and all these Congress people co-opt the language. It's not gun control, it's people control. It's not an assault rifle, it's a modern sporting rifle or a semi-auto. And by the way, I feel very safe here today seeing guys carrying around guns. A universal background check is gun registration. Gun registration is future gun confiscation. It's a gun, it's not a weapon. Start using that if you can. They're Democrats, they're not democratic. Dianne Feinstein is not a Democratic senator. If I hear another talk show host refer to somebody as a Democratic senator, I go to 99.1. I hope you do too. And by the way, I don't know about you, I don't care what Juan Williams thinks. I know where he is and where he's going to be in a month from now. It doesn't matter what kind of logic you put in front of these people, they're brain dead. I don't need to hear that, I hope you don't either. Back to Congress real quickly. I know you're getting cold and my foot's freezing to this box of ammo. If you serve in Congress for 5 years, 5 years, you get 100% of your salary and all your benefits for life.
No!
My boys, some of your boys, go over to that sand hole, do 3, 4, 5 tours, they sleep on dirt, they eat crap, they come home if they're lucky, and they get nothing. Congress gets lifetime benefits for 5 years of screwing us and lying. Do you consent?
No!
Could you use 1,000 rounds? Heard on the Dennis Miller show this past week, there's a JAG that's representing 18 Air Force officers that are just a couple of months or a couple of years away from retirement. They're getting these "your service is no longer needed" letters. They won't get their retirement. Nidal Hassan, the guy who shot 13 people and wounded 29 others, is still getting paid by you and me. Do you consent? No! Then what is this guy that's running the Republican Party doing besides spending time in the tanning bed? He needs to hear from us. Mark, if you're here, take that message back from Nevada. The guy that shot 13 people dead, workplace violence as the Obama administration calls it. Meanwhile, a 5-year-old girl recently arrested for saying she was going to shoot a friend with her Hello Kitty gun. Arrested and called a terrorist. Nidal Hassan is still being paid by you and me.
No.
So, quickly here. Under the pretext of public safety, current government has granted itself the authority to seize your property, molest your children. If you post criticism of them on the internet, you can be arrested without a warrant or criminal charges. If you own a firearm or an accessory for a firearm that the government does not approve of, you can be arrested, fined, and jailed. If you gather like this, like we're doing today, there's a new law that's passed recently that if there's somebody within range that finds you disruptive, you can be arrested. Do you consent?
No!
Did you happen to hear, just real quickly, did you happen to hear the idiot from Maryland, I think he's a senator, when he was talking on Congress Hill, they were talking about guns and he kept referring to a 100-round artifact? These people are so stupid that they don't, first of all, they don't read the bills they pass, and then if they do read them, they don't know what they're reading. So take a look in the mirror. Those things that I mentioned, they're all factual. That's what we have let happen. And I know it's not you guys there, but if we don't get active, if we don't start being just as obnoxious, loud as the left, we're going to continue to get trampled on. And I swear to God, if the president could do what he wanted right now, you'd be arrested. You.
That's right.
You understand?
That's right.
Now listen, again, I keep saying real quickly, but I got to get this in. A couple of years ago, there was an election, and Harry Reid was running. And I don't live here, so I hope I don't offend you too much. I live down in Gardnerville. But you let a mayor here in Reno that and a bunch of supporters came out and said, mayor's office is nonpartisan. Oh, yeah, sure. And then he went out and started calling Sharon Angle names and said she's wild. A Republican for Reid. And then over in Sparks, you had a mayor who joined up with Michael Bloomberg's Mayors Against Gun Violence. There they go again, co-opting the language. Who's not against gun violence? Some of you with guns, could you ask your guns to please not be violent? And he ran, and he won. And I'm talking about, what's his name, Martini? You gonna let that happen again? I mean, you let Cashel run unopposed. I'll pay for your filing fee. Let's get a name on there. Don't let that stuff happen again.
Get him out of there.
Yeah. And that's about it. I appreciate you coming. God bless you for coming out on such a cold day and being here. Let's not forget why we came here today. And let's be a little loud, obnoxious. Let's take some time to learn about the issues. Let's talk to friends, family. If you, if you've got young kids, thank God I don't. I got 2 boys, one out of the military, one in Afghanistan now, and a very conservative daughter. But if I had a kid that said they were voting for Barack Obama or any liberal Democrat, I'd say, okay, if I have $1 when I die, you won't get a dime if you think the government does a better job with it than I do. All right, so let's see. I need, I don't want to, could you come up, can you come around here? I want to get you to do something for me. Would you come around? Thanks.